Hello, everyone. Dr. Rob Silverman here. Hope you had a great weekend. It was beautiful here in New York. I'm excited to be sharing some new things. We were just having a conversation here about what we wanted to do our Facebook Live on. We had so much information, but we're going to keep it very pointed. We're going to keep it pointed at the sugar-depression connection. Every time I see something on sugar, it really catches my attention because sugar is the most consumed free drug in America today. Having said all that, let's talk about the sugar depression connection. And most people don't realize that there's a direct connection. My numbers right here are 16.1 million Americans have one depressive episode in a year. That was from the National Institute of Mental Health. That's a considerably high number. In addition to people consuming sugar, 18 teaspoons of added sugar is accounting for 14% of the total calories ingested in America. 18 teaspoons. The average American consumes 160 pounds of sugar per year. So it's 6.3 cups per day. We talk about added sugars. Sugars are what I like to really refer to is the hidden sugar. Some of the hidden sugars that are most interesting are fructose. What happened was in 2014, the food labeling was able to be changed to speak to the idea of hidden sugars. High fructose corn syrup can now be labeled as fructose. That's an added sugar. There is no essential amount of sugar that we need. It is not a good fuel. It's a dirty fuel. Better fuels are good quality fats. So I always try to share with all my patients as a linchpin towards their health, decrease their sugar intake and clearly decrease the added or hidden sugars that they have. 75% of packaged foods included added sugars. Great example of these added sugars in the packaged foods are sodium, sugary beverages. They are the leading sources. So soda, I mean, when I see a whole bunch of people on the beach right now, people going back out, they're getting back with it, if you will. And what do I see? I see them consuming soda. Soda not only has sugar, soda also has all these artificial colorings. Sometimes they even have artificial sweeteners, and they're in a plastic bottle. And the plastics now are a major issue. We're going to do a talk tomorrow on plastic, so tune in, and you're going to see how bad plastic and BPA is for you. So if you guys have any questions, I always like to do it at the beginning. Feel free to ask a question. Give me a shout out. Ask me something about sugar. Ask me something about carbohydrates today. Ask me something about health, and please share this with everyone. So in addition, the soda and the sugary beverages, like what kind of sugary beverage? Like a Gatorade. My goodness, Gatorade. You know, I don't have a problem with a good quality electrolyte drink with 30 calories left. Don't think and base your electrolyte drink based on the amount of sugar you consume. The reason that people have sugar with an electrolyte drink or a sports drink is they think it's good energy, but it's really bad energy. It's dirty fuel. If you had a race car, would you give your race car dirty fuel, or would you give your race car good quality fuel? Good quality fuels are fats. So I'm a big proponent. I'd rather see you, believe it or not, have some avocado. I know it doesn't make sense. You can't have an avocado drink. I get that. But you may want an electrolyte drink, and you may not want any sugar. You certainly, if you're going to have sugar, you want it mixed between the sucrose and the fructose, so you have multiple pathways in which to get the energy in. But however, excessive amounts of sugar are not very positive for overall health. I had a video question. So I take video questions from a lot of my patients worldwide, and one of them was talking to me about Alzheimer's. And they said, whatever happened to the concept of Alzheimer's being type 3 diabetes? Well, type 1 is more adult onset or more insulin injecting. Type 2 is more that you give it to yourself. 90% of people in between type 1 and type 2 have a type 2 diabetes. Type 3 was Alzheimer's. We've forgotten all about it. We've forgotten how bad sugar is as a fuel and how bad and detrimental it is to brain health. So without question, we want to decrease our sugar. We want to decrease the amount of packaged foods. So when you go to eat, use the U in the supermarket. The U. Because on the outskirts or the periphery is all the good food. In the center, where they all want to couple us and hurt us, have all the bad foods, all the processed foods, all the foods in packages, all the foods that have a multitude of ingredients. Many of them are hidden sugars. The more sugar you eat, the more you want to eat. It's addictive. I used to be a deserter. Oh, goodness. Yeah, sugar is extremely addictive. And the reason sugar is addictive, it works with the reward center of your brain. So when mice, and I said this all the time, were offered sugar, 94% of mice took sugar over cocaine. So it works with a reward center. Also, it does this to blood sugar. It waves it. It jacks it up. It drops it down. There's no nutrients in sugar, so you get no satiety. You get no sense of fullness. And especially with some of these fruit juices and sodas, it's just a drink. There's no nutrients there. There's no fiber there. It just boosts your it boosts your blood sugar, pushes it up, and it drops it down. Now, 300 calories or more at one time, like a Frappuccino or several Gatorades, will decrease your immune system by 50% over 2 hours. So clearly sugar has no real positive health effects. So there were some studies done. Almost 70,000 participants that did a 3-year study, 3-year Women Health Initiative. There were 265, actually about 264,000 persons from the NIH AARP Diet and Health Study. And here's what they found. People who had excessive amounts of sugar had an increase in body inflammation. And everybody knows that I want to manage and modulate inflammation, that this kind of inflammation actually triggered depression. It also led to fatigue, which also led to sleep deprivation. And last, it inflamed the brain, and an inflamed brain is a depressed brain. So sugar leads you down a body inflammation path, which increases the incidence of depression, sleep issues. If you don't sleep well, your brain doesn't heal well. It doesn't detox well. And an inflamed brain, as I said before, is a depressed brain. One of the biggest negatives that it does is microbiome disruption. It causes dysbiosis. Sugar feeds all the bad bacteria. Sugar feeds all the yeast. All bad things love sugar. Our cells that don't like sugar are our healthy cells. So when you're also consuming sugar, you're also in an acidic environment. In an acidic environment, cancer cells grow. Detrimental cells grow. So sugar is not a positive health environment. Jennifer wanted to know, what can you replace sugar with to curb sugar cravings? Really good question. The reason that we have those sugar cravings are two things. Number one, we have a gut problem, so we have to fix our gut. Please adhere to my 7R program. Number two, start using fat as fuel. Start getting your body to burn fat so you can make ketones. You will not crave sugar. The reason you crave sugar is you're using sugar as a main source of energy. You eat sugar, you boost yourself up, and then you crash. It's a roller coaster. Whereas fat and protein is more of a straight flight, straight drive. That sugar is up and down and up and down. Some other things that, because the sugar goes up, is you increase your incidence of insulin resistance. Or insulin resistance really is a problem. The inability to regulate your insulin appropriately really leads you down a path of inflammation. For me, one of the biggest inflammatory markers, I just had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and he wants to bring in a 17-year-old in today. He's got some musculoskeletal issues. So other than the x-rays, I asked if he could have some blood work. And he said, well, what do you want? I said, well, I want an inflammatory panel. And his response was, remember, in that inflammatory panel, modern medicine is a little behind the functional medicine, functional nutrition requirements for inflammation. What do you want? So what I asked for, hear me out, is C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein is tissue inflammation. What I also asked for, a litany list of interleukins. Interleukins lead you down a path of inflammation. Interleukins are the reason that we have this proverbial cytokine storm. Cytokines release these interleukins. And I asked for blood sugar levels and insulin resistant levels, because I think they're very deleterious to overall health. Sugar, insulin, lock and key, bring it to the cell. So if you have an insulin resistance problem, you've probably eaten too much sugar. Some other effects are oxidative stress. So when you eat sugar, which is very acidic, you produce all these free radicals. These free radicals lead to oxidative stress. Think of oxygenation. Think of rusting inside the body. That's the way I like to describe too much oxidative stress. Also, you're looking at AGES, what a great name. Advanced glycated end products. What does that mean? It actually means like the browning of the toast. That's your cells. It's the damage at the end of your cells. These advanced glycated end products are extremely detrimental to your overall health. And last but not least, remember your gut and your brain communicate. Sugar really slows that communication down between your gut and your brain. It makes it aberrant. Some of the things that you'll see are dopamine dysregulation. So I'm going to go running. I think we got a couple more questions. Am I right, Steph? So let's go down. Coconut sugar. Great question. Coconut sugar. I'm a big proponent of coconut sugar. That leads us to the idea of glycemic index and glycemic load. So glycemic index is how much your blood sugar can raise quite quickly from what you eat. Does not take into account the amount. So you may have 5 calories of sugar. It theoretically would boost up your insulin, but because there's no volume to it, there's no mass to it, it's really not going to be as detrimental as we all think. However, glycemic load is the amount of grams you consume times your index that gives you a number. That's a much greater marker. Now, coconut sugar is low on both. So if I were to add something for a little sweetness, coconut sugar would be a choice, or a small amount of molasses. Not honey, but a small amount of molasses. The only sweetener that I recommend, or if you would, artificial, it's really not artificial, is monk fruit. Hey, Steph, what do you got? I like to have oatmeal, berries, and bananas, and maple syrup or honey. Is that too much sugar in the morning? Yes. Yes, sorry. But that's a great question because most people think oatmeal is healthy, and it is. Berries are healthy. Banana, we have to discuss. Maple syrup or honey are your sweetener. But the problem is you'll couple so many carbohydrates together at one time, all simple, kind of dirty fuels. So berries are really good. Oatmeal, if it's gluten-free, is a great choice, as long as it's not too much. And if you wanted to add a little bananas or a non-starter, really high glycemic index, glycemic load, I'm not a big proponent of bananas. If you had a little bit of a banana to sweeten it, you really probably shouldn't add the maple syrup or the honey. And what would you do to bring that glycemic index, glycemic load down? You would probably want to put in some form of protein or some form of fat. So maybe add like a good quality organic almond butter. Or I know I don't want to make you eat too much in the morning. Get a smaller amount of the oatmeal and probably have some protein like some eggs or like a organic chicken sausage and such. Let's go down. Do we have somebody after you? No, we're good. So as you guys all know, every day, 1:30, we're trying to get on at 1 o'clock, but as you see, I'm in the office, a lot of patients, things are getting back to proverbial normal. If you have any questions on any of these topics, feel free to reach out, like, comment, share. Don't forget, we're also on LinkedIn, we're also on Instagram, Dr. Rob Silverman. We're on every day trying to have different stories and share. We got some big announcements coming up in the future. I just wanted to say thank you very much. Decrease your sugar. Sugar is not something that is health friendly, and we really wanted to emphasize the sugar to depression connection today. Dr. Rob, always yours in health.